Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo, and tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Poobah, Senator, Grinder, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some wine, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 54th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We discuss La Casa Del Habano specialty cigars, Senator discusses the importance of decanting wine, and Poobah shares the glory of the flat-top grill, all among a variety of other things for the next hour. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair a Cabernet Sauvignon from Jordan with the Ramón Allones Superiores LCDH. A La Casa del Habano special cigar tonight from Habanos, the Ramón Allones Superiores, a 46 ring gauge by 5.6 inch cigar. This is a special one, not only because it's our first LCDH, but it's also got 6 years of age on it. So the box code on this thing is ETP October 2016. I've had them in my humidor for about a year now. So I'm very excited
Portuguese factory?
ETP? I think it may have been. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
I think most of these are rolled in the
ETP
Portuguese.
is Portuguese.
Yeah. So this is the second Ramón Allones we've done. We obviously talk about and love the Robusto, the RAS, specially selected. So this is our second one that we're doing on the pod tonight. So let's cut this thing, boys. See, we're getting on the cold draw, the wrapper.
Yes.
I haven't had it in a while. But I will tell you, the reason why I wanted to do this one as an LCDH, not just because I had it, but also because it's pretty, I would say it's pretty easy to get. Like, it comes up quite a bit. Like, I've seen it on I've seen it on other, websites recently. It's pretty easy to find these. So,
yep.
What are you guys getting on the cold draw?
Not too much.
A little cedary.
Yeah, a little cedar. Tastes like Ramón Allones.
I get cedar and walnuts.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I'll drink that Kool-Aid. A little dried fruit, maybe.
Yeah, a little figgy, maybe.
A little figgy.
Yeah, definitely cedar. A little bit of nuts.
Cedar and moss.
Moss.
Oh boy.
Petrichor.
No petrichor.
You haven't called out petrichor in quite some time.
I haven't had a petrichor moment.
Poquito moss.
The people want it. The people want the petrichor.
Well, we got to get some cigars with petrichor laden.
All right, we'll do it.
I'm not getting too much on a cold draw. It's very,
I'm not either.
Very faint, very mild.
All right, boys, let's light this thing. The Ramón Allones Superiores, an LCDH special. We'll talk about what that means in a minute after we get this thing lit.
You know, I've been dying to have a cigar all day today.
Yeah, me too, man.
Oh.
I've been thinking about this all day.
I don't know how you guys feel, but sometimes I enjoy having a cigar alone very much, and sometimes I don't.
Very true. Sometimes
I don't know how you guys feel.
Totally agree.
I love a cigar alone.
Sometimes I do, but sometimes I think I like it more. I think I like it more with friends.
I agree with you. The only reason I say that is when it's nice out, I can kind of squeeze in, that solo one cigar quick. When I don't have to get in the car and drive and add that additional time,
Right.
I'm able to just run out on the deck and pull it off. Turn the TV on, pull it off.
Oh, yeah, like you're getting a fix, or
Exactly.
You're being contemplative or thinking about things, and that's enjoyable. But for me, just personally, I really do enjoy smoking cigars with people. Particularly after the pandemic.
Absolutely. So what are you guys getting on the light of this thing?
So I'm getting a ton of walnut, which is what I got on the cold draw. Is anyone else getting that?
That is so
yeah,
accurate.
getting a little nuttiness.
Like
well,
a
walnut
lot.
in particular.
In particular,
like
not
this
any
walnut.
other nut.
I couldn't put my finger on it. That's very accurate.
Not any other nut. I just think it's funny that you say
One
that.
time you feel like a nut.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I get a little spice.
Touch. I like the
on
walnut.
on the retro.
I'm going to retro it. I haven't done that yet. I do like that there's a little bit of resistance in the draw on mine. Just a touch.
Mine's wide.
Which is good. I like
Mine's
that.
wide too.
I do too. I think this is the perfect. We've said this before when we've done like the Magnum 46 and other Corona Gordas. I think this is the perfect Vitola, in my opinion. This is for me.
us.
For me, is the perfect.
We like the
Vitola.
46 ring gauge.
Yeah, 46 ring gauge.
And the Petit Corona, of course.
Yeah, I'm not a big. I don't love a Petit Corona as much as you guys do.
Sometimes
I you know,
it's
no.
got its spot. You know, I mean,
It's too
there's a-
diminutive in stature for me to call it, to put it in the.
as a last stick or as a first stick, I like a petite Corona
This is
in
phenomenal.
the morning, like
It's
half
a
an hour
good
smoke.
cigar. Something unusual on that very end. I can't put my finger on. It's good.
The finish, there's something weird with the finish that's
Yeah.
happening, but
It's
I don't.
unusual.
There's like a little bit of bitterness.
It's a tank. It's like an alkaline. Yep. Minerally. maybe.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
same.
mineral.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a box of these as well.
I
but
like
they're
that.
not as they're not they're I think they may be 18s, but they just it's not. It's the same experience, but let's see what happens.
I kind of like that minerally finish. It's different.
It's not minerally though, like a Partagas is minerally.
No, it's different.
It's not salty like that. It's
no.
there's like some almost like there's a bitterness to it.
I
It's
just
unpleasant.
I keep going back to this walnut thing. I'm sorry. The finish for me is really, really dry. Like
Yes.
after
Yeah.
you chew a walnut. Like it's not a sweet finish like some other nuts. It's just a very dry,
Yeah.
abrupt finish, and that's exactly what I get here.
it's unlike a ras,
Oh yeah.
Oh, totally different.
right?
Yeah,
Totally
I wouldn't even say they're barely
worlds.
cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about construction at all, but I mean, all Ramón Allones I would say is generally rustic, but I think this is actually especially rustic,
Yeah.
It
Very
is.
very toothy.
Yeah.
which to me is a little bit odd. Just given it's an LCDH cigar, you think there's sort of a premium that goes with that. You'd expect this to be maybe a little nicer in presentation and construction than some of the standard production stuff, and I actually find this to be more rustic than a ras.
Yeah.
And darker than expected, maybe.
This is definitely darker than the other box of these that I have. I don't know about the one that you have. Poobah, but
About the same.
what's nice, so we talked, Senator just mentioned about the LCDH again. So the cigar has a second band on it. So it has the normal Ramón Allones gold band embossed and all that with the various classic Ramon. And then there's another band that's red, like a dark, like magenta and gold and black that says La Casa del Habano. So these cigars are intended, and I use that word very specifically, intended to be found in LCDH specialists and Habanos retailers. Obviously, it makes its way onto the gray market. We could talk a little bit about why that happens when we could talk about inventory, but these are made. These are special rolls. Obviously, they're made in the Partagas factory, like you guys talked about. They're meant to be a higher end cigar, not like a limitada, but an LCDH is meant to be something special. So, and should be a little bit harder to find. But like
Actually,
I said,
can I make a correction?
go ahead.
I think you said that this was the first LCDH cigar we've done. Did you not?
I did say that.
It is not. The Partagas Culebra is technically an LCDH cigar.
Oh.
Wow,
That's the
you're right.
first.
Wow, very nice, Senator. That is absolutely correct.
You just got schooled.
I did.
And so is the another one that you may not realize that's a LCDH is the Connoisseur.
Ooh.
We didn't do that on the
No.
pod.
We didn't
but-
do it, but I'm
yeah.
just saying
Yeah.
it doesn't carry the band,
Really?
the second band.
Oh,
The
okay. Yep, that's
Connier.
right.
But it is technically an LCDH.
Love the Connier.
Interesting.
Cuba being Cuba. God forbid, if you want to call these cigars an LCDH cigar, just throw the second band on
Right.
it. I don't know why
But 'cause
some
it-
they do and
well,
some they don't.
Neither do I, but the Cuba being what it is, but the band is so it's hefty. It's so hefty on that cigar to begin with. I guess maybe having even more band would just not be.
Yeah, they could just take a page out of who's the Davidoff owns them that has the ridiculous band that's literally at least half the length of the cigar.
Camacho.
The fucking bands are insane. It's like half the cigar is
Yeah.
covered up.
Yeah.
It's a gimmick.
So it's like Carrillos, Some of the EPs have like
Oh, they have the foot band.
Yeah.
a foot
They-
band. The
Scotch tape.
band's kind of wide.
I don't
Yeah.
understand why they have that thing. So they need to circumcise that shit. It's just like,
Well, I think the only
Oh,
I guess
boy.
the only you know
It protects the foot.
the Leyenda, the Maltese, and the Dantes from Monte Cristo carry foot bands, and I guess they are kind of tightly packed in that box. I guess you could maybe argue that a foot band maybe protects the foot, but I don't know. All unnecessary. It's just packaging. But anyway,
Yeah.
You could maybe justify that, but I'm not a big. Why make extra work?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just marketing.
I find something cool here.
What's that?
This cigar, I think some of us noted, has a short finish.
Yeah.
Dry.
Yep.
I find what we're sipping on is very similar.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Beautiful dry finish, and it's very quick.
I think it was an appropriate pairing, given you're saying about the short finish. I thought about that when we first mentioned that.
From that perspective, it's a perfect pairing.
So we're drinking a Cabernet from Sonoma, correct, Senator?
That's right.
It's a 2017 Jordan. It's a wonderful Cabernet. What do we know about Jordan? What do you know about Jordan, Senator?
So I think their history is actually, it's very simple, but I think powerful because they're unique in just California and kind of the style of wine that they make. And for me and my palate, I'm always the lizard that mentions, I like a really balanced wine. I don't like an overly fruit forward wine, which is most of California wines. I don't like an overly dry wine like a traditional French wine. I like somewhere in between. And Jordan checks that box for me, which is why I've always really loved their wine. So they haven't been around all that long. They were established in 1972 in Sonoma, like is mentioned. And the founders, Tom and Sally Jordan, wanted to be the first to create a Bordeaux style California Cabernet Sauvignon that was approachable and still drank well while it was young, but could have aging potential. And I think as you drink this, you see it's not a fruit forward bomb like most California caps. I mean, really everything out of Napa does not taste like this.
Yeah.
And I like that it's more balanced. It's not too dry. You taste the fruit in there. But I think it's balanced out really well. So just a wine I've always enjoyed, and they're enjoying great success because I crack up every time for whatever reason, and it's good marketing on their part, right? Like you could just market in Cigar Aficionado and Wine Spectator and all these magazines and online, and there are other brands that really try to get product placement in movies and TV shows and all this stuff. For whatever reason, the last few years, if you look at any show that involves like a wealthy person, whenever they show wine sitting on a coffee table, a kitchen counter, the red is always Jordan. It's obviously intentional, so I really give them credit. I think it's actually very clever product placement.
So I have two questions for you, Senator, on this. Number one, do you think that they achieved what they were trying to do in trying to make a California Bordeaux? Do you think they achieved that?
I do.
Okay.
I really, really do.
And that's a rare thing to do?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, most of the California cabs that you would have, they're super fruit forward and they're great wines. I take nothing away from them, but just most of the time I'm not looking for a really jammy, super fruit forward and a lot of times too sweet of a wine for what I'm looking for. There are times like when you're having a steak and you can get like a really, really rich, intense California cab that would pair perfectly with that. And a steak, there's nothing sweet about it, right? So you're like balancing kind of sweet and savory. It works. But when I'm just drinking a glass of red wine like we're having right now, or especially pairing with a cigar, I don't want something overly sweet or anything exaggerated in any particular direction in terms of flavor. I want something balanced that's not going to detract from what the cigar I'm having or the meal I'm having or the experience I'm looking for. And I just think wines like this slot really, really well into a lot of places.
I tend to pursue a drier wine when I'm having a steak. I'd prefer not a fruitier wine with a steak. This would be fantastic with a really good cut of meat.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
My other question for you is, when we were looking at this and talking about wine, and you and I each picked up a case because we found a nice deal on it, why the 2017 vintage? Why is that such a standout?
Oh, honestly, I wouldn't say it is. I think the 2017 vintage was for them a very good one. Across California, I wouldn't say was a particularly great vintage, but for them, I actually think they still did a nice job keeping kind of the true character. That's another thing with vineyards. Like, every year is different. Every vintage is a challenge for all these vineyards. So I think when you have some vineyards that in challenging years, like 2017 is not known for being a particularly great year in Napa, but you have some vineyards that were able to really still keep the consistency of what they normally deliver.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you pick out. So like there are some bottles of 2017 I was like, no, I'm not gonna go for that. But this they've actually been able to do a really nice job delivering the normal flavor profile that they do.
Was that the earthquake year? Wasn't there a year where there's like
Well, 16 was a very good year.
16 is one of the best years
I
Napa's
mean,
ever had.
Yeah, that
Perfect,
16,
perfect weather for it.
You know,
Super hot summer, perfect for cab, nice and cool at night. Couldn't get any better.
they're like $80 bottles that go for $400 now.
Oof,
Yeah.
From that year, $350.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
This
Yeah,
is enjoyable.
I think it's a perfect pairing.
It's nice with this cigar.
yeah, with the cigar, it's
Yeah.
it's
similar finish.
right there.
And I
Yeah,
think the other
both
thing
dry.
where they deserve credit, and it's funny when you read that they intentionally were trying to make a wine like this. There are a lot of California cabs that you can't. They're not ready to drink until they've been able to sit and age and mature for at least a few years, some if not several years. And Jordan has always been a wine where whatever the latest vintage is, you can go pick that up in a store. And if you're in a pinch and you're going to a restaurant, it's BYOB, you're bringing that for dinner, it's almost always going to be ready to drink. It's going to get better with age. There's no doubt about that. But it's not going to be too aggressive or offensive when you open that bottle up. And there's so many others you can't say that. I think Giz and I were, you had texted me the other night about Cade, a
Yeah.
vineyard I absolutely love. They make a Howell Mountain cab that's incredible. And Cade 2018, which I had drank plenty of, was outstanding. And then I was at some steakhouse. I had said 2018 on the menus, on the wine list. So that's what I ordered. They bring the bottle out and I said, this is 2019. It says it's 2018. Oh, we're sorry. We didn't have any more. This is what we now have. And I said, okay, fine. You know, he opened it up. It was way too aggressive. Like I would not open a 2019 bottle of Cade anytime soon. It needs to sit. So I just appreciate that with Jordan. Most of their wines are really ready to drink.
and I think that's what makes it popular because wherever you go, it's generally available. Most liquor stores, and it's on. It's for restaurants. It's great because it's on the wine list. It's somewhat ubiquitous.
Yeah.
In a way. So which is good. It's like Stag's Leap Artemis, which we've discussed.
Love that bottle.
You know, it's also somewhat ubiquitous, like a really drinkable wine, another drinkable wine that you can that just is very serviceable. You can get it in a restaurant. I mean, if the wine list is not that great and that's on there, just get it.
No doubt.
And same with Jordan.
And the Howell Mountains. That's a great bottle. Very,
Yeah,
very
that was
nice.
really good.
Yeah.
We did that on the pod.
Oh, the Robert Craig.
The Robert Craig.
Yeah.
That's right.
Which that's
That is-
another
that's
great
another-
example.
oh,
But
wow.
that's
So, like,
not
that's
that's not
another great
ubiquitous
example.
though.
No, it's
no.
not. It's not. But that's another example. I mean, Robert Craig as a whole is, for whatever reason, that Howell Mountain Cuvée is not easily accessible. But that's another great example. Like why I like that wine. I think the price point is excellent for what that delivers. It's very similar to Jordan, where
Yeah.
it's like a Bordeaux style California red. And it's not, you get like some of that fruit, but it's not overpowering. It's not too dry. It's like right balanced in the middle.
Yeah, and the dry. I do love that hint of dry in that bottle. Really good.
You know, you should talk a little bit about decanting a wine.
Mm.
Do you guys do that? Do you not? Or when do you do it? When do you not do it?
That's a great question.
Great question.
Because
I
my
said-
wife threw out my decanter because it
think-
was taking up too much space.
I think
So-
it's a must.
I'm going to say this, and this is like totally against the grain in terms of what you should normally do. I think, you know, the traditional way to decant, right? You would buy a wine decanter and you pour the wine in, you let it sit there and open up over a few hours time before you're going to serve it. I have a nice decanter. I've loved doing that sometimes, but I just have to be honest. It's such a pain in the ass to clean.
Yeah. That's
Seriously,
true.
like unless you have some like not so nice looking decanter, which would have like a very wide mouth, it's very easy to clean that, but it looks like shit. If you have a nice decanter, it like, you know, it tapers in the middle and then it comes out. And so to clean inside that, even with a little brush, it's just a huge pain in the ass. I got so frustrated having to clean a wine decanter. And so they have other things like a Venturi, which is like this little device that you like pour the wine through and
Yep.
it aerates it. before it hits your glass. Even that, it's a step in the right direction, but for me, it's very inconvenient. They have a stand for it. You can imagine this like on your counter. I think this is ridiculous. You have this like whole stand, holds the Venturi. You're pouring the wine through it, then into either a decanter to then pour into the glasses or into each individual glass. For me, it's just a hassle. There's a great little gadget on Amazon where it does the same thing a Venturi does, but you can put it directly into the wine bottle, and
I've
it's
seen
got
that.
like rubber around
Yep,
it to
yep.
just grip in the bottle.
Seen it.
And you have to do nothing. You just pour the bottle like you normally would, and the wine is all aerating through it before it hits your glass.
Right.
For me, that's so much easier. The cleanup, you just, wash it under the sink. It takes literally a minute. And so decanting is important. I just like using the simplest ways to do that. I think they all achieve basically the same thing. And the advantage of a Venturi, or the thing I'm talking about, and maybe we'll put the link to this actually in the podcast so people can get this if they want it. But the advantage to that is it aerates faster than if you just decant in a decanter. It's got to sit there for hours to open up. The way this funnels through, it's like bringing oxygen in so quickly that it's aerating the wine much faster. So you can open a bottle and realize, oh, shoot, maybe I wanted to decant this, and just pour straight out of that. And you're
Right.
getting almost the effect of having decanted it for an hour or
Right.
two.
And you can taste the difference.
100%.
that.
It's like all those tannins, especially when you have a really, really structured wine,
They settle.
they're super aggressive sometimes right when you open that bottle, and they need to decant, and the tannins, it all needs to kind of dissipate and open up to really get just the flavor without the aggressiveness of the wine. So for those, you need that. Now this wine, it was funny. I mean, you probably saw I opened the bottle
Yeah.
here. I poured a little bit in my glass, swirled it. I took a sip, and I said, it's ready to drink. That's there. The style of this wine lends itself to not needing a lot of that. But if this was a heavier California cab, no question we would have needed to decant this.
Would some of the older wines need to be decanted more than the younger ones because
That's a
of
great
the
question.
tannins?
That
it,
is it.
It
Yeah.
depends on the wine. And so I wouldn't view it as much as year or age as much as I would the type of wine. So if it's a heavy cab, even if it's, been aged for 10, 20 years in a cellar, regardless, both are going to need to be decanted. If it's a more medium bodied wine, something with a softer, more supple finish, it may not need to decant that long, whether it was, younger or, aged for, 10, 20 years. So it really just depends how much body that wine has. The fuller the wine, the more structured the wine, the more tannins and the more time that's going to need to decant. And for softer, lighter wines, they need less time for that.
Yeah, maybe a French Burgundy would need less
Exactly.
than like a Bordeaux.
That's
A
right.
big old bottle or Bordeaux may need to open up a little bit more, need more time.
This cigar is really good. So we're coming into the second third. What do you guys think of this? Not great.
Getting a little clay.
Clay.
Like an earthy, like I guess you call it mineral or like earthy notes.
Still getting that, yeah. It's
That's-
a bit bitter for me right now.
The finish is
love it.
definitely short.
I don't love it. There's nothing that's standing out for me that makes it anything.
This is similar to the first time I had this. I think there's nothing offensive to me so far. It's just very monotone, just very one note. Like I'm just getting walnut and cedar all the way through. The finish is really short. A Ras has a longer finish than this does.
Yeah.
And so I'm wanting more from this cigar.
Yeah, I mean, give me. To be honest, I would smoke either a Ras or a Ramón Allones.
I was going to crack
Small
a joke.
Club Corona.
Yeah, those are great.
Has to me packs more flavor than this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you told me that this was the only cigar I had to smoke for the rest of my life, or a Ramón Allones specially selected, I mean, there's not even a contest. There's
And
not even a contest.
I don't think they share many flavor notes at all. Like aside from the band on the cigars, I really don't even think that they have even a comparable flavor profile at all.
There's
So-
nothing about this cigar that does anything for me.
Sorry, going back to the wine. What is this? This isn't my wine.
What is what?
I think it came out of the bottle. Is that cork? Saturated cork?
Adds to the flavor.
Either that's a piece of cork from the shitty opener at our clubhouse that was used at first, or it's sediment, which if it's sediment, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell.
Just bonus.
Well, I think about this, back to the wine, because it's actually more interesting.
It's a wine podcast tonight, boys.
Right. I mean,
because this wine is really good.
like we talk about this a lot, this notion of spirits being balanced. It's balanced. I like Jordan. It's as not being like a full-on wine guy. I appreciate wine. I drink a decent amount of it, and I kind of go through phases. I don't collect wine. I tend to just buy like a case of wine, and then I just plow through it, and then, I may not buy a case for a while, and then I'll buy another case or whatever. And I tend to go with what's available. That's decent. And this is one of those wines that I definitely grab a couple of bottles of if I'm doing a mixed case or something at a retail store, because it's very approachable for anyone. It's not but at the same time, it's going to satisfy. Put it this way, it's going to satisfy a person because it's not so overpowering. It's going to satisfy anyone at the table. They're going to say, wow, this is really, really fantastic. And I actually think that even a novice would appreciate how good this is, because there's a smoothness to it and a richness to it, but it doesn't blow your hair back with a whole lot of stuff. So I would say to the listener, if you're thinking about, buying maybe a more expensive bottle of wine for a special occasion, I would highly recommend this. And then one step below this, I think a Stag's Leap, anything from Stag's Leap or Stag's Leap Artemis, also, they're never really going to let you down. So I think that as we go through trying these different wines, where something like, which I don't think we're going to review in the pod, what was the wine what was the Pinot Noir I brought over here that had some structure to it?
Oh, the Belglos.
Yeah, the Belglos. So I cooked up some filet mignon steaks the other night, and I cracked that bottle of wine open. And you had mentioned to me, I said, well, it's a Pinot. It's probably no. It has a lot more structure than you'd think. That wine is less approachable as a Pinot Noir than this Cabernet Sauvignon is. Way less approachable. Like I could see somebody being like, because it's actually one of the more structured and more kind of bolder Pinots that I've had, and
it's one of the most. Truly.
And Julie even said, she goes, oh, is this going to be? I go, well, let's try it. I said, Senator said that this is, so should we had it? And she goes, oh, well, I like it, but it's bigger than I thought it would be. And it's a lot bigger. It's actually kind of a, surprisingly, when you think of Pinot Noir, you think of very fruit forward, you think of French Burgundy, you think of California Pinot Noir. It's a bigger wine. It's actually like it's a more aggressive wine than this.
100%. It drinks like an aggressive California cab. And it's weird for me. So for the listener, Belglos, they make a ton of wine. They're famous for their Pinot Noir. They're sort of the winemaker is Joe Wagner. And so the kind of accessible brand is Mayomi. You've seen that it's in like every supermarket sells Mayomi. For me, it's way too sweet.
Very sweet.
I'm not a Mayomi fan, but that's kind of their entry level. Then they have Belglos, some really highly rated wines. They're all like $50, $60 a bottle. They have the beautiful red wax that like it looks like a Maker's Mark bottle. The presentation.
That's the only thing that I would know it from is that.
The presentation's outstanding, like truly outstanding. But for me, I mean, it's a Pinot Noir and it drinks as aggressive as some of the more aggressive cabs. I think Poobah is spot on when he says, like, why I really appreciate this wine. And I think it's even important to have this conversation because there are so many people, real wine people, that will sit there and have Jordan. They'll say, oh, Jordan is so tame and simple, and they're not excited by it. It's lesser than because of that. I have a bone to pick with that because I actually think that it is much harder to make a really balanced, approachable wine in the way that they've done at Jordan than it is to make a really bold, crazy, aggressive cab that some people are going to sit there and say, wow, look at how intense the flavor is in this. That's far easier, I think, to do with cab grapes than to make what they've made here. And that's why France gets all the acclaim that it does, because it's also not easy to do what Bordeaux and these other regions do. So I think there's like a war within the wine community about even stuff like this. And that's why I think people look at Jordan become more commercialized and say, well, it's not all that interesting. And I think what they do is very difficult. And Belglos and all the Wagner wines, a crazy wine. I'll never forget. I mean, I try almost any wine. This is just how you figure out what you like. I remember at one point I was in a wine shop and another Joe Wagner wine. So I mentioned Mayomi. We talked about Belglos. They make this wine called Bowen, and it's a Pinot Noir. And it was around Thanksgiving. They're like, oh, everybody's buying this. You have to try it. And it's like $20, $30 a bottle. And I tried some, and I'm sitting there saying, holy shit, this is like the sweetest, most structured Pinot I've ever had. It drinks like a California cab, and I hated it. I would never buy it. But if you go look this wine up, there are like tons of people who will sit there and say, oh, this was great. And this is for people who just want to drink like, sugar fruit juice in a glass. It's not wine as far as I'm concerned.
What's the price point on Jordan?
So Jordan's always around $50 a bottle.
Yeah, we got a good deal though.
Yeah, so I'll actually say this for listeners. As a person who purchases and consumes a lot of wine, Vivino is obviously that like wine website. You can post reviews and stuff like that.
They have a great app too.
They have a great app. And for me, there hasn't been a ton of utility in that kind of stuff that they do. I think the app I think the whole like storing the wines you've had and rating them and keeping a log, it could all be much better and better connected socially and things like that. And Vivino for a while got into the business of connecting you to local retailers and helping move their product to sell wine. Because let's say if you live in New Jersey, you have no idea what the local wine shop is in Orlando, Florida, right? You would have to live there to really know that. You go on Vivino and it connects you to all these local shops that have this stuff. So not the Total Wine or Bottle King or the big guys, but just these small places. And years ago, it sucked for sourcing good stuff, but I have to give them credit. Lately, it's really good. And some of the deals you get are insane. So I had found Jordan pop up this 2017. You can buy a case. Normally it's 50 something a bottle. I think we paid like
42, I think, with tax
and shipping.
Yeah.
I mean, in the history of Jordan, they've never put out a wine that's $42. So the fact that we were able to get that at that price point, it's a no-brainer. So I would actually recommend people check out Vivino sometimes. You'll see certain retailers on there, certain wine shops will have like promos and sales, and Vivino, to help move products, sometimes will have like promo codes. You can get 10% off. I couldn't believe at the end of, I think it was last year, they had a code was 15% off any wine, no exclusions.
Wow.
Which is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, I was able to get like $400 bottles of wine for 15% off. There's no store that puts a discount on bottles of wine at that price point. You could buy $2,000 bottles of wine and get the same discount code. It was wild. So highly recommend checking out Vivino every now and then.
Another one that I see quite often is Duckhorn.
Yeah.
Like you see that a lot. How does that compare to this, like price point wise or taste wise?
It's very similar. And I historically have loved Duckhorn. I've been to their vineyard in Napa. They always made some of my favorite wine. I think I actually talked about the Pinot that they make, Goldeneye. I do like, that's a Duckhorn wine. And Duckhorn Cab, there are a lot of Napa vineyards that I think have real ups and downs. I say that because I think many years ago, Caymus was great. And now I really dislike Caymus, like actively dislike it. I think they've gone downhill. Duckhorn, I used to love. Then I think something changed. I didn't find their cab all that satisfying, but we should do this on the pod because I'm revisiting Duckhorn Cab. I had a bottle recently that was actually pretty good that reminded me of what Duckhorn was. So I hope that they've kind of course corrected. So I think with all these vineyards, it's very hard to just say like one brand is amazing. Silver Oak is another great example. Silver Oak used to be the gold standard of like California Cab. And it was at one point. I used to really, really enjoy Silver Oak. And then I found Silver Oak to become this outrageously aggressive cab that needed at best a cellar for 7 to 10 years before it would be something that I would enjoy. And so I think like even they've changed. So I don't think any brand you can just like wholesale say everything they produce is just perfection. Because over time things change, conditions change, ownership changes at all these vineyards, and things get done differently. So you kind of have to try and see. But I think Duckhorn now has started to course correct for any of the
I remember
problems.
having a Silver Oak. I think it was at a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in the 90s. And I remember the bottle being like, it was black with a silver label.
Yep.
But the bottle the vintage was maybe 1980 or 84. It was phenomenal. It was like one of the best wine that, I mean, I'm no wine connoisseur, but it was unbelievable.
And to your point, tying it back to the cigar for a minute. I mean, it's the same thing with cigars that you just said. It's the conditions, it's the vintage, call it. It's who's rolling it, who's making it, who's in charge, who's blending. I mean, we've talked about this before when we've done wine, so we don't need to dive into it again, but it's a handmade, hand-rolled, hand-created product.
It's organic.
Holy.
It's an organic product.
Yeah.
And like anything else, and also it's to each his own. It's the same with cigars. I mean, a lot of people, I have friends, a couple friends who collect wine. I'm not a wine collector. Who would maybe look at Jordan and say it's too commercial, but whatever, and like Senator said, would shit on it because it is a little bit ubiquitous, but it's a hell of for at the price point, and it's very good. So it's something that I've always reached for, being someone who doesn't really who leans in that direction. Like I'll drink a bottle of Cambridge. You don't have to twist my arm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like whatever, or Silver Oak. I mean, I'll drink it. It's not like it's not drinkable, but I'm not also, but I think there are a lot of people out there like that, like me, who are just like, it's tough to find that kind of, what do you get? We were talking, I think before the podcast, it's tough to find, well, at $20, you can buy a bottle of Oberon and it's good table wine from Mondavi. And you're like, okay, but that's really, there are very few wines at that price point for me that you can just drink with and not kind of be put off by. That's just me. Yeah. But then it jumps to $40, $42 to $50, where really. Really 50, really 50. And you go, well, there's no real in between. There's some things that you can find. There's some Italian wines that you can find maybe in between there, here and there, maybe, that you may find that you may like on sale or something like that. But, nothing that's really that dependable.
I want to say we've gotten to the bottom of what's in Grinder's glass.
Oh,
so
what is it?
It is not cork. It is wonderful. It's sediment.
Oh,
He has sediment in his glass. When you have sediment in a wine glass, that is a wonderful sign. Happens during the fermentation process, always signals an aged wine.
Cool.
There you go.
So very, very nice.
I brought authentic stuff, boys.
I'm buying a case of wine for one of the guys on my teams right now for a successful project as we speak.
Nice.
That's great.
I could use a refill. Actually.
Well, it's good you say that because Gizmo brought one bottle, and just in case,
I texted you to bring a second. You're like, we only need one.
And the funny thing is, well, he asked me, he's like, don't we drink 2 bottles every time we do wine? I'm like, no, we always have 1 bottle. But Jordan, I know, is a great wine that we would like. So I was like, I'll bring an extra one in
well
case.
done, Senator.
So we have refills.
Someone call Garcon.
So I just want to touch on 2 things that I am enjoying about the cigar, because I know that I think the room here, all of us are really not enjoying this cigar. The fact that it's nearly $40 now, if you were to buy it, I think is a major off-put.
It's about the same price as this bottle of wine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's really not nearly as interesting. I got it. So this cigar for me, it wasn't offensive in any way, but it was really not
Yeah.
not a standout for me.
Yeah. I will
all.
say the two things about it. Number one is at the burn line, I think is where it's doing its best work. I think it smells great at the burn line. And number two, the one thing we've never talked about on the podcast from a construction standpoint, I know we've talked about it off the pod, but I found, I don't know if any of you other guys, but a good roll at the, where you cut it right under the
cap.
The cap. I have a very pronounced dimple in the cigar, which
Yeah, me too.
I don't know why that always signifies a good roll, but everybody on the internet, et cetera, always says that if you have a cigar with a significant dimple in right under the cap, it's a sign of a good roll.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know why that is though,
but I think, well, maybe because the way the leaves are folded and that there's actual air that can get through there or something. That would be my hypothesis, but yes, that's what they say. So,
I mean, it's rolled well. It's just not a great cigar.
it's just not that great of a cigar.
It's really dry.
Yeah.
It is really dry, and it's not dry because of the conditioning. It's the actual flavor.
Yeah, the flavor is like you get it's dry, as if like dry would be a note.
right.
You know, it's like a
Ooh,
weird
Garcon, thank you.
cedar dry.
Very
note.
kind of you.
Yeah.
I'd like some sediment, please.
Yes.
It's
As,
actually, it has
As
like,
Senator is pouring.
it's
thank-
really just
thank
like
you.
nuts and wood.
It's not, it's
Yeah.
not great.
My
It's
man.
kind of
Thanks.
lumbery
Beautiful.
for me, and I'm not.
It's like, to me, it's like if you go to like
Whatever.
Walmart and buy like a pecan pie or something. It's just basic and blah. All the ingredients are there. It looks really pretty, but it's just not great.
Pecan pies are good.
No, I love pecan pies. I'm saying a Walmart pecan pie,
Yeah.
versus a homemade or something.
Yeah.
Costco makes a good pecan
Costco,
pie.
dude, they're like 18 inches.
Yeah,
Like a
they're
pizza.
awesome. Yeah.
So we talked about, Bam Bam mentioned briefly that this is a wine that he would love
Mhm.
to have with a good piece of meat.
But honestly, as I'm drinking more and more of this, I'm liking it more.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, Poobah, because you sent a picture out that blew my mind. This guy made filet mignons the other day for his family.
Very
And-
well done. Beautiful.
I mean, when I tell you these steaks were cooked perfectly, it was fascinating how well done. I was very impressed. So tell us about the technique and the tool specifically,
Sure.
the flat top grill.
Sure. So flat top grills. A lot of listeners will know.
Buckle up.
flat top grills are popular. Blackstone makes them. Basically, it's a grill, but it's got a flat top on it. It's a Blackstone makes them. Camp Chef makes them. Pit
Sorry,
Boss
there's
makes them.
a grill brand called Blackstone. That's not like an asset management firm. I've never heard of
yes, it's not. No.
Is
No.
is it made out of stone or steel?
No,
Or
it's
iron?
steel. It's rolled steel.
Okay.
It's
Got it.
so so basically it's like a hibachi that's on four legs that you have in your backyard, and they come in all different sizes. So there's 2 burners, there are 3 burners, there are 4 burners, there's 6 burner ones. They run off of propane, and you season the top, which is a very easy process. You use canola oil, you burn it off, you wipe it on again with the paper towel, you burn it off, cook a pack of bacon on it, and you're ready to go. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. So wipe the grease off. So anyway, so the reason why it's interesting is you can cook anything on it. It's very versatile. These flat top grills, you can make traditional kind of like smash burgers on them. Outstanding. You can make stir fry, and you can control the heat. You can have hot zones, medium zone, cool zone. You can cook hash brown potatoes. You can do eggs.
I feel like they'd be very good for breakfast.
They're very good for breakfast, but they're very good for anything.
Yeah, well, the
You know,
picture you sent.
it's basically like what they so when you make a fillet, a classic way to make that, and I think the best way to make it is in a cast iron pan on a flat surface, right? You want to first you want to salt the way I do it, and I would recommend everyone do it this way. Salt them. So you salt them, you wrap them in saran wrap individually if they're cut, or if it's a Chateaubriand even that you would put center cut and roast in the oven. You need to salt it with kosher salt pretty generously. Wrap it in saran wrap and then temper the meat by just leaving it out and letting it rise to room temperature.
I would
Maybe an
even
hour.
not pretty generously, very generously.
Yeah, very generously.
Yeah.
Very generously. and you salt it with kosher salt, and you let the steak, the meat rise to room temperature while you do whatever other prep that you're doing. You take the saran wrap off, okay, and then their steak. Before you do that, you pat it dry. You put the salt on, and then what it does is it actually draws out some moisture, but it's not making the steak dry. It's actually making it more tender. But you need to pat that away with a paper towel again, and then add your pepper on the outside of the steak. And you could put garlic powder too if you wanted to. But traditionally, you would just put pepper. And then put the pepper in, because the salt, what happens is the salt absorbs all the way into the meat, and it seasons the meat completely throughout while it sits and comes to room temperature. And it also, when you take a thick cut of meat like that and you let it rise to room temperature, it also allows you to cook the meat more evenly. So you don't have like a cold red center. You can cook it to medium rare and it still be warm. So once that process is complete, so why a flat top is convenient and great and good. One, it gets really hot. Two, you can get a full sear, one side, the other side, and then around the sides of that fillet. Okay. And once that's done, all you need to do, what you would normally do, is you would take that pan. Let's say you had 2 fillets or 3. You would take a pan and then put it into your oven and get the steak up to temperature.
Yep.
Right. And then you would just check it periodically and temp it and get it to however you like it. Some people like to take it out at 120. Some people like to take it out at 130 or 135 and let it rest up to medium rare, whatever it is, whatever your preference is. So what you do is, why the flat top is so cool is because you can do 8 of them at once.
Yeah.
So if you're having a party, you could do 8 steaks. You could do 6 fillets, individual fillets, all at one time. Take them and then put them in an aluminum tray on the side. Cover the grill up, because this has a top, the one that I have. You just cover that up, put some butter on top,
and you're golden.
And you're golden, and you're really ready to go. So when you sear them initially, you just take a little bit of canola oil, just because the smoke point on canola oil is higher and it's tasteless essentially. And then just mix a little butter, or you could use ghee, which is like a clarified butter if you want to get really fancy. That has a high smoke point if you really wanted to do it that way. But I just take canola oil, mix in a little bit of butter, and sear them that way. And it seems not to burn.
So it sounds like we need to get to your house and do this, because that picture you sent us, they were perfect, man.
They were perfect. They did come out perfect.
It was impressive.
So you put them to the side, and that's it. And then you just temp them, and it's real easy, because all you got to do is just, you wait 10, 12 minutes, temp them, see if the cuts are different. You take one off.
It's good to find a nice meat purveyor as well.
Yes, and a good meat purveyor
good piece
is
of
always
meat
good.
is important.
That's absolutely. Anyway, so that's that. So there's a lot of versatility in these flat top grills. I'd recommend them to anybody. You can make anything from fajitas to breakfast to a filet mignon to an Asian stir fry. I mean, I'll do an Asian stir fry on this thing. It comes out bananas. I mean, bananas good. You can make fried rice. You make fried rice on one of these things.
Do you throw shrimp tail into the family's mouth when you're making?
I love the concept of it being like hibachi and like a diner griddle. All
in one.
And the stuff doesn't fall through.
It's easy to clean. Yeah.
It's really, really like when people. That's why there's a whole community in YouTube videos. People who are so passionate about these flat top grills, because they're so versatile. You can cook more good stuff. If you had to choose one thing and one grill only, you got to choose a flat top, because you can just cook everything on it.
So let me ask you a question.
Except maybe like a bone-in ribeye, I wouldn't cook on there.
But you won't get the grill marks like a lot of people love.
True.
But you get the sear.
You get the
over
sear,
it, though.
Yeah,
like, it's even better.
It's more complete.
It's better.
For some things. For bone-in steaks, you got to go to the grill.
Let me ask you a question. Price-wise, how does it compare to, let's say, a normal grill, like a high, a good quality
These
grill?
are like sub $300.
Well,
right?
well, the one I have is
$300 to
$350.
Wow,
it's a
okay.
3-burner, and
It's
I'm
less than I
forgetting
expected.
the maker. Yeah. But there's higher. The Blackstones get up to be like $800.
Got it. Because they have like air fryers in them and stuff too, right?
Right, but my Weber full size, the full whatever it is, the biggest one they make.
Yeah.
That's $3,000. That's almost $3,000.
Wow.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They're $2,700
Jeez.
Wow.
for that
Okay.
big grill.
Doesn't
So-
Traeger make one?
They make
A
pellet
flat top?
grills.
No, but they make flat top, don't they?
I think It's only
You know?
pellet. I think
Yeah.
Traeger only makes pellet.
No? Okay.
you know, you can't smoke things on these things.
Well,
It's
I have
not that.
I have a Traeger. I have a pellet grill and I love it.
So does Grindr.
Traegers are incredible.
Yeah, they're just it's
awesome.
just different. You
Yeah.
know, it's just a different. I kind of want to have both.
I want.
honestly.
I'm getting one.
Yeah,
I'm
I kinda
done.
want
It's
both.
it's. I'm sold.
Yeah, it's really really awesome.
I want to make some freaking pancakes on that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
There you
And
go.
you don't stink up the house like cooking stuff on it. You know,
You know what?
you go
I'm just
outside. and-
imagining all of us. Have you practiced your onion volcanoes, Poobah? Because I'm imagining all of us sitting around the flat top grill on Poobah's deck.
Yeah.
Poobah
Cognac.
throwing
Yeah.
shrimp tails into Gizmo's
Yeah.
mouth, making the volcano. I want to see
Sure.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can we wear the
Fire
hats?
hazard. Should wear the hat. There's, you know what I made the other day on it? I mean, no joke. I made chicken franchise on this thing.
Wow.
Came out fantastic.
What?
Absolutely.
franchise.
On a flat top grill?
Absolutely. I'll tell you how I did it.
Wow.
So you take the you
I'm
make
sorry. Do we all know what chicken franchise? That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'll
on a
tell you-
flat top
yeah.
grill.
Yeah, I'll
That's
tell
like a diner making that on a flat top.
No,
That's
no.
crazy.
So yes, so Sip and Feast is this YouTube channel that I watch, and I highly recommend it for Italian recipes. When you go to a restaurant and they make chicken franchise is the sauce that goes on it is lemon juice, chicken broth, white wine, butter. That's what goes in it. You don't need to, and the chicken is so thin and cooks so quickly. There's no fond that needs to be developed to make the sauce.
Okay, so you're not making the sauce on the flat top.
No,
Okay, that's what like threw me. I'm just
Right.
imagining how are you containing the sauce with the chicken on a
no,
flat top?
no. You make
Okay.
that separately because there's no fond that needs to be created like you would be making. Let's say if you made
Chicken.
If
you don't
you-
want fond chicken fond.
right, you don't want. Well, yes, you do sometimes if you're making certain chicken dishes. You would, where you would sear chicken and then do things you may want to do that.
But couldn't you make the sauce on the flat top
Nah,
in a
you-
pan?
Oh, well, you could if you put it on the hot, but that takes too long to heat the pan up. So you make the sauce on the side. So this is another reason why it's great. So think about how many batches of chicken franchise you'd have to do for a party or for people. Because you take chicken franchise is flour, you season the chicken, you pound it out thin. You flour it, then you put it in the egg, and then you put it on.
Yep.
That's how you cook the actual chicken fillets. So you do 6 at a time.
You're producing at scale.
You're producing
Yeah,
at scale.
This is the important
That's
piece
the
here.
that's the thing.
It's to do it at scale.
You're
Yeah.
doing
Because
it at
otherwise, to
scale.
your point, you've got a bunch of little pans on a stove, and you can
And
only
you're
fit so
suffering.
many pieces of
You're
chicken
suffering.
in a pan
Right.
with that, and you're not going to put them on the grill. It's not meant to be grilled like that.
Right.
So, to your point, you have this giant surface to cook a shit ton of chicken at once.
And you're done. So you make the sauce, the franchise sauce ahead of time. You dredge your chicken, you bring it out. You make sure you have your lubricant on there. You make sure you have a little olive oil and butter and at the right temperature.
Yep.
And you throw your chicken franchise
go.
on there. The fillets come off. You take it off. You heat up some lemons on the grill like that. You do a little garnish.
I love
you
this.
You do some parsley.
I'm
and you
so
put
in
the
on this
thing, and you've got
gotta
chicken
say,
franchise in a second.
I'm so
I gotta
in.
say, Poobah, you've talked about starting Poobah's News in your retirement plan. I think Poobah's Catering is sounding a
Yes.
lot more promising.
Or
I'm
Poobah's
impressed.
YouTube channel for this kind of stuff.
Well-
Because listen, think about the other product that I would say was as revolutionary as this, as far as eliminating suffering, the Rover, the TV stand.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
right in line with that.
This is life changing.
You eliminate suffering for all lizards.
It's
Thank
a
you.
catalyst to making your life easier.
Yes.
It really is. So let's say on the weekend, think about making bacon in the oven. I always made bacon in the oven. Why would you bother making 4 or 5 strips of bacon at a time in a pan? And it takes so long. You would make it in the oven. But then
Yep.
what are you left with
You
after
sound like
that?
an infomercial. I love
What
it.
do you, but think about it. What are you left with after that?
It's
What-
an awful mess.
What
It's
you're left
an
with
awful
grease.
mess.
Gross.
is a
Grease.
bunch of bacon grease in an aluminum foil covered pan.
Yep.
Right? You
Yep.
go outside, you put this thick cut bacon on. Not only does it cook in a fraction of the time and come out great, you cook it slow, you do your thing, but it's done in a fraction amount of time. And guess what? You take all that grease, you wipe it up with a paper towel. You buy one of those outdoor garbage cans that they sell. You toss it. You toss your paper towels in there. You wipe it up. You push the grease into the grease trap. You take the bacon off, and it's done. And you got bacon for the whole weekend.
And the house doesn't stink.
So
well, hold on. The smell of bacon
is
in
great.
the oven.
No,
it is
fine.
good.
No,
That's true.
I just don't like the
That's
oil and the fat kind of
But
lingering.
I think cooking bacon in the oven is the optimal way to cook bacon.
Probably, yes.
And-
You're not wrong about that.
And I also think it's so easy to clean up if you do it appropriately. With you line the foil and it overcomes you put it over the lip of the tray. And I made bacon this morning for my wife. I cleaned it up in literally 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, but sometimes on a sheet pan, if it's not big enough, it's hard to fit all the bacon on.
That's true. You need multiple sheets.
You need so that's a problem on you don't have that problem on a flat top grill.
Yeah.
So
you get the expediency and crispness of doing it in like a cast iron without the mess.
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Look out, Food Network.
Here we go.
Anyway, that's the primer.
We're the food lizards.
Yeah, that's the primer.
That's
on
what we're doing tonight. We love the cigars so much. We're the food and wine lizards tonight.
Yeah.
I don't think the cigar is that bad, honestly, but
It's just not
No,
great.
it's not. It's not a bad cigar.
Listen, for an LCDH,
it's not a bad cigar at all.
For a
I just wanna
$40
clarify.
LCD.
Yeah,
DH,
for $40,
give me a break.
it's not great.
Give me a
No,
break.
That's
for 6 years of age on it, guys. This is not a cigar that was made 6 months ago.
The thing I want to say, if we can get back to the cigar for a
Yeah.
second, the thing that's actually surprised me the most about this, I've had this before and it's been younger, and this is one of the few Cubans that age doesn't
doesn't help.
help at all.
It did not do well.
This is exactly carbon copy, my experience with a younger one with just a year or two of age on it. This has 6 years. So
Yeah.
that's why I think, like we say this many times, like it's cigar to cigar,
Yep.
right? There are some sticks we know we don't want to touch young at all. Wouldn't even think of.
Yeah, they should really change the name of this cigar to Ramón Inferiores.
Holy moly.
wow.
It could be a cousin to the Hamlet cigar.
and it's funny, right?
By the way.
And we're a huge fan of the Marca.
We love it.
Oh, yeah.
I think how many RAS cabs did we go through in the last 3 months?
Oh,
Never,
7?
Never enough.
Thousands.
750 cabs?
It's not enough.
That's like 400 cigars we went through, distributed among all of us.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
It's not
So,
even close.
I got a question for you. We've been talking about it, and I think the LCDH conversation and these being available is pertinent to it. But I'm seeing, and I think we're all kind of seeing that inventory is kind of, I don't want to say recovering, but it's definitely been better,
I 100%
especially in the
agree.
gray market vendors.
I'll just say I panic bought a number of D4s because I can't live without that. I think everybody here knows my favorite, like New World is the Exclusivo Padron and Old World is the D4. I can't live without that cigar. And there was a time where the inventory was so limited on that, you couldn't find it on any of the places that we normally look. So when it started to pop back up, even from places I wasn't as excited to buy from, I just started trying to get anything I could. And then now all of a sudden they're everywhere. And I'm like, oh, well, fuck, if I just would have waited, I could have chosen my sources a little bit better. But I agree. I'm not sure what's happening, but it's good for us as consumers. I feel like most regular production stuff pops up now with some regularity in a way that it was not months ago.
Yeah. What about the prices? Have to come down a bit?
No.
Some stuff has just a touch. Like I have right now and Cigars of Habanos. I mean, the prices on Cohiba and Trinidad are so bad that the product is literally sitting there.
Yeah, they're discounting the Trinidad.
Everything's being discounted because they can't move the product at the prices.
I love
What an asinine business move, though. Like,
It's so stupid.
What the hell are they doing?
Habanos is ridiculous. And you look at like anytime especially on IHAV, I mean, they never got a ton of Cohiba. So anytime anything went up, just like any of the higher level stuff that we really enjoy, the double Coronas or even E2s from Partagas, some of the other sticks that are kind of up and down right away. I mean, Cohiba, they've had.
How long ago was it? We did an episode. We were talking about how we couldn't believe Bejiques had been sitting on Havanas. All this time later, they're still there. I saw it this morning.
Prices
no
are
one's
ridiculous.
paying these crazy prices.
Siglo 6, Esplendidos. You know, it's $2,600 a box for a Churchill.
But this is Cuba being Cuba, because in any, let me just temper my, in any well-run commercial organization that you would find in North America or anywhere else outside of a communist-run state, you'd have some pricing analyst saying that this is asinine for us to immediately have this kind of price surge. That you do the analysis to say there are certain pressure points in the price matrix that we have that we're not going to move this product, and we know that because we have the data to do it. And we have the people that in the market research to do it.
They don't do
But
that.
they don't.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
They don't have spell check. I mean, look at
they don't have-
Cuba's
yeah.
talking, the
Cartier.
connoisseur. I mean,
They, they spell it wrong. Going on 20 years.
It's just Cuba
No.
being
and
Cuba.
I said this on a prior episode, but of all the times to do this in a time of extremely high inflation, like it's like the perfect storm of when they should not have done this. People are
Yeah,
worrying
but-
about how they're going to fill their tank of gas, how much they're paying for eggs and all this stuff. And you think all of a sudden people are going to be willing to pay all this money. Even those who are very lucky and privileged, we're certainly very fortunate that we can spend as much money as we do on cigars. But everybody feels the impact of this in some way. It's when no one's in a situation where they're saying, oh yeah, last year I spent I could buy a box of Cohiba Robustos for $600. This year, $1,500 sounds right. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
No
I think
one's
they were
doing that.
counting on Hong Kong in the buying surge during COVID when supply was so low.
But look at
they
that.
were vacuuming
and look at
everything up.
Asia's economy right
and
now
then,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
everywhere.
I mean,
everywhere.
if you're looking again, clearly, maybe you're not going to have the kind of demand coming out of China with the mortgage crisis, Hong Kong, ridiculous.
They got a real estate crisis there that's banging.
The
Yes,
the
they do.
mortgage crisis. The people aren't
Yeah.
paying their mortgages.
Yeah.
Which, well, that's a whole different story. But I don't know. It's just like somewhere
Yeah.
some idiot was like, "Oh, we'll raise prices," and
And you know what
And
they're
by
doing?
the way,
is-
and you got Europe. I read in the journal the other day, 10%.
Yeah,
Yep.
They're
inflation.
Up at, they're at
Inflation's
10%. They're up
10%.
at
the
10%.
UK's
is getting
inflation
hammered.
Yeah,
And then you throw the tax on top in the European market. It's not like these people don't. That's a big market. So there's definitely pressure, and there's
So-
product in the channel. So what are they going to do? They're going to see. They're going to it's going to go into the gray market, and they're going to see what's going to happen there, and who knows? But I think it's a big indicator that if you're starting to see some of these Trinidad and Cohiba pop up on at these prices, and they're sitting and they're not moving, is probably a leading indicator
Yeah.
that something is not
So-
something's not right.
working.
Yeah.
Economists look at all kind of different fun indexes to like judge inflation and where the economy is and consumer demand and so on and so forth. They look at like, I don't know, like the diaper index, for example. People look at the diaper index because they say, okay, people are having babies. Diapers can get expensive, especially if you have a young one who's going through diapers 6 times a day, whatever it is. Sometimes parents will say, we're going to hold this diaper for a little longer. Maybe we'll change it 4 times a day. And you see the consumer demand slip a little bit. You see it kind of fall a little bit. There's all weird, wonky indexes that
That would be a
these-
shit show.
Well,
For Habanos,
fun fact on that, as someone who's had to brush up on this, a newborn goes through 3,000 diapers in their first year.
Wow, that's insane.
Get the washable cloth kind.
yeah.
Okay, Rooster.
We'll get those for you, Rooster.
we'll send it back to Calcutta. But they look at wonky indicators, and there's got to be some savvy economist that's like looking at the cigar price indicator to say, like, this is a real thing. Inflation is a thing. People are prioritizing other, essentials over, Cuban cigars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Needs, not wants.
Why do I have a feeling that the board at Habanos and the executives
board.
there, or whoever
What
the hell
board?
is running it,
I don't think they have corporate governance.
or whatever corporate governance structure they have in place, are that in touch with the capital markets? To be honest, I just don't think it's their bag.
I think they
So-
were just counting on low supply and Hong Kong, and it's ridiculous.
I just got a mouthful of sediment in this.
I've got no sediment. I'm depressed about this, Senator. What the hell's going on?
I don't even know what to do with this thing.
So the other question, the other thing I wanted to talk about briefly is the fact that these cigars are LCDH cigars. So they're meant and built to be in La Casa del Habano specialists around the world. Now we've talked about this before, Poobah. I know you've spoken on it, but why is the gray market? Why can I buy a 10 count box of these Superiores on iHave as
because
opposed to
they suck, and they're not selling. I'm being serious.
No, I know.
because they're they're probably not as limited. Take a look at Ramón Allones, the Kool-Aid that was drank around the what is it, the number 2, the Limitada. So when that released, they said they were going to release. I don't, please don't quote me on this, listeners. I want to say it was 12. Maybe they were going to release 12,000 boxes or 24. It was a limited amount of boxes. Guess what? They've released 3x the amount of boxes that they said they were going to. The cigar, that 10 count box, that green racing box, had a lot of hype around it. And are they good? They're definitely way better than this. I mean,
Agree.
heads and shoulders above this. I think maybe
that was a 2019 Limitada, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of hype. I mean, the reason why, and then all of a sudden those popped up everywhere. So I think there are more of these out there. One, that they put out than they say they do. And two, they find their way into the gray market because guess what? Like the smoker in the know, in Europe or Asia or wherever, they're not
not
buying
hoarding
the
these.
cigar
Yeah.
because it's not that good.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out like this isn't that good. It's marketing. So a
Yeah.
lot of these La Casa de Habanos releases are marketing. How often do we hear people raving about LCDHs besides maybe, I know everyone doesn't love the Connoisseur A, but people do. I do. I happen to love that cigar. I know it's not for everybody, but it's for a lot of people. There's a market for that cigar. Now, it doesn't have the extra band, but technically it's LCDH.
There's no market for that cigar.
What?
I just wanted to push this, but
Oh,
I knew
the
that would.
cognac?
I knew he'd perk up in the
Of
chair.
course there is.
It's a good
Of course
cigar.
It's a very good cigar.
Great
It's a very
cigar.
good cigar. So
I think all 4 of the Connies are very good cigars.
Right. So what I guess what I'm trying to say is it's marketing. Like a lot of Limitadas are marketing, as
Yeah.
exemplified by, Ramón Allones number 2. Great box, great presentation. Was it that great? No.
By the way, speaking of presentation and box, these come in a 10 count, very basic cardboard dress box, and that's it. There's nothing special about it for $400 now.
Wow.
$300, $400. What were we buying them for? What was the first box that you
I
bought?
paid $147.
$147 for this same box of 10 cigars.
Unbelievable.
Now they're triple that.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that's ridiculous. It's
No
ridiculous.
no one's paying that if they've smoked.
This goes back to the thing we've been saying since day one. The regular production stuff is the best stuff.
Yep.
It's not to say that everything that's a Limitada or a regional or LCDH is bad. It's just to say that many are not great and some are great. And you got to really sift through them, where I think in the regular production catalog, there's so much to find that's going to make you happy. You don't have to go chasing all these proclaimed exclusive or limited release cigars. It's just not the same.
And the
Yeah.
price that you're going to pay for these sought after limitadas is sometimes
Not
not
worth it.
really worth
Right.
it.
No.
And so many times, I think the thing that actually frustrates me the most, I'm all for paying more for more, right? I don't have a problem paying more money for something that's going to deliver a better experience. But what really frustrates me is when you pay more for, let's say, a Limitada, and you smoke it and you say, that's kind of young. That needs more age.
Right?
It's
Yep.
like, if I'm going to pay $40, $50 for the stick, I want it to be aged and ready to smoke.
Right.
Yep.
Well,
What's
the perfect
point?
example is the one that Poobah was just talking about, the 2019 Ramon EL
Needs
that,
age.
that needs to sit like, I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
smoked like maybe 3 out of that box that Poobah was able to get one for me, but they got to sit.
They
Senator
do.
gave
I
me
haven't
one and
gone
said,
back.
"Don't
And
smoke
I said,
it."
don't smoke it.
still have it.
Hold it. Yeah,
I still
hold it.
have
Yeah,
And I'm confident that with a lot of time, they will be great. I say that because when I first
they
got it, I
preview
had
well.
one, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is good, but not great at all. And then I had another one with maybe another year or two on it, and I said, okay, this is much better. Actually, it was the night we were at my place, the caviar champagne night, and it paired phenomenally with champagne, by the way. So when it is ready, smoke
Champagne.
that with champagne.
Okay.
But
Good to
it's
know.
going to need years.
Yeah.
All right, boys, you guys ready to do the formal liquor rating on our wine pairing tonight? The 2017 Jordan Cabernet.
Yep.
Bam, Bam, you're up.
So the first glass, was that out of the first bottle?
Yeah.
The second bottle is this glass I'm holding. Honestly, this second glass is better than the first glass.
You know where the second bottle came from?
I don't know.
I mean, we got it 3 days ago.
Senators. No, I got this.
So
I
in it-
got this way before you. I told you after I had already got my
Oh,
shipment.
okay.
Before any of you
Um,
say anything,
but-
so I'm commenting on this innocently, right? Because I don't know where these bottles are from. They could be from someone's backyard.
The second bottle is from Senator
you.
Cellar.
Got it.
That's what I was getting. at.
Senator's not going
So-
to relinquish this
he's
opportunity
taking it.
to
He's
exert
taking it.
superiority.
Thank you, Bam.
I say
Thank
this.
you, Bam.
I say this because Giz dials in the humidor, and I think maybe I have to dial in Giz's wine setup.
We got to dial in your ego as
I'll
well.
tell you.
I got it a week ago. Your wine ego.
Wow, says the beer guy over here.
Yeah, that's true.
What's wrong with being a beer guy?
Nothing. At all.
Nothing, but you're very proud of your beer knowledge. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not proud. It's just knowledge. I'm not proud of it. I do like a good glass.
Bam, what's
All
your
right,
rating?
pipe
So
down,
the
Petrichor.
second glass, yeah.
And a right hook.
I've never called out Petrichor wine for the record.
So the first glass was hovering at an 8, even maybe a 7. Honestly, this
Okay.
is a 9.
All right.
It's actually tastier, and to me, there's a bit more body in this than the first fucking bottle. Very
really good.
strange.
It's more
Very good.
sediment.
Yeah, I got no sediment.
I
by
got
the
no
way.
sediment.
Grinder,
I
you're
got
up.
a lot of sediment, and I loved every ounce of this wine, both bottles. I don't have the kind of palate to differentiate one from the other.
I'll help you out.
I did enjoy I did enjoy this a lot. Like I said, my scale is I don't know. I'll give it an 8 because I really enjoyed it. Fuck, I'll give it a 9. I mean, I'm not a big wine drinker, but I could drink this all day.
There you go.
Senator.
2 9s. I'm in the exact same camp. I said this before, and I'm trying to make a statement with this because there are plenty of wine people that will say that this wine is too simple and not interesting enough to warrant a higher score. And I think that it is very difficult to make a wine like this, especially out of California. It's a 9.
I gotta
also,
say, I gotta say one quick thing.
Yeah.
In life, in general, regardless of what it is, if you're designing something or building something or making something, it's really fucking hard to make something simple really good.
Yeah.
Because there's no embellishment, right? So whenever you're creating something, the simplicity is exceptionally difficult to achieve a really good product, whatever it is. If you're building a house,
We
anything.
talked about this
Yeah.
last
Yeah,
week.
can I build on that? I mean, I
Yeah.
told a story like with beer, right? I couldn't believe having worked for Miller Coors and
Yeah, like the
asking,
light beer.
what's the hardest beer to brew? And they said light beer. And you would think that's the cheapest beer to make. How could that be the hardest? And it's exactly that point, right? When something's so simple, if something's a little off, a little imbalanced, it would ruin it
Yeah.
instantly
Yeah.
in a way that stuff that is so ornate and complex, you could have 1,000 things wrong with it, but there's so
Yeah.
much going on, you would never notice.
Yeah, there's no embellishment that gives you that opportunity to make it fruity or whatever you want to do, fufu, shishi, things like that. Yeah.
You guys well said. I'm also at a 9. No,
Oh, I think
No
we
question
skipped-
about
I think we skipped
Miss
Poobah.
Poobah.
no. I'm going in our normal order.
Oh, there you go.
Ah.
You started-
You're right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go in the horseshoe.
Let the
boys.
moderator do his job,
Trying to do
guys.
the
He's
horseshoe.
a step ahead.
Well,
I
then-
like
Trying
it.
to do the
Yeah.
horseshoe. I could have remembered the laptop.
Look,
tonight,
it's
but-
not the most complex wine I've ever had, but I think at the price point, and I really want to caveat this at the price point, and given the fact that its availability, I give it a 9 at $45. You put this. I actually prefer this to Stag's Leap Artemis, because they're really the same price point.
I agree with you on that. By the way.
I
Stag
kind of
Sleep has now Artemis more than this bottle.
more than this
Yeah.
bottle.
It probably
This
$10 or
bottle you'll
$15
find
more.
for $50 or $55 in a wine shop, and now
Yeah.
Stag's Leap is $60-65.
The Stag's Leap Artemis has a little more tannin in it. It's a little bit. It doesn't. And it has more tannins and it's a little bit more fruit forward, where this is to me just a little bit more balanced. So you know, I don't know what I gave the Artemis, if I gave it a 9, but or not, but I would give to me, this is in my wheelhouse for like what I would drink as you know, an upgraded table wine for, you know. So if you have, let's call it Mondavi's Oberon, which is an approachable table wine you can have with spaghetti and pizza or whatever for $20 a bottle. If you're having a steak dinner, I think that this fits right in. So for me, as a pedestrian, somewhat of a pedestrian in the wine world, even though I have been on wine tours of Burgundy and Napa and things like that, I'm just going to say.
Thank you for the update.
He's a pedestrian plus.
But you know, but I'm not a collector. I don't read about this shit.
Just put your pinky out when you say it.
When I put my pinky out,
I'm a pedestrian.
I am saying, but I will. It's been a while since I've been to both places.
You guys are so spoiled.
But
We are.
But so I've had better wine, a lot better. But is it, for what it is at the price point? It's a 9 for me.
That's the operative thing there, the price point, right?
Yeah.
We factor this into everything. I think I've said this 1,000 times. It's impossible to divorce that. If this bottle were $100, would I give it a 9? Absolutely
Exactly.
No.
Because there are $100 bottles that are so much more complex and more satisfying than this is. But at $50, when you look at the competitive set of what this goes up against, this delivers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's exactly where I'm going to go with the cigar when we rate it.
Yeah, there you go.
So
You
the
know,
Composite Lizard score, boys, on the wine, the Jordan Cabernet from 2017 is a 9.0. And just because you guys made the comparison, we rated the Stag's Leap Artemis that we had as an 8.8.
Okay.
It
so
was
this did
1
beat
8
us
in
out.
that group.
Senator knows. All right, are we? I think we're ready to do the formal Lizard rating on this cigar. What do you guys think?
It's ready when we started.
I know.
Jesus.
Go ahead, Rooster.
All right, Rooster, you're up.
I mean, I thought I overpaid when I got the box for $147. So seeing what the price is now, like 400 and I think I just saw this recently,
it's crazy.
$459 for a box of 10 sticks.
It's ridiculous.
That's almost $46 a stick.
Shit.
And it's a shit steak. I mean, well, it's a lousy steak, so I'm giving it a 2. No, I'm sorry. Give it a 6.
6.
6.
Poobah.
And that's a generous score.
This is a 5 for me. It
Okay.
did nothing for me. So 10 being a great cigar, 1 being the worst cigar I've had in my life. This is like right in the middle. It's not at the price point. It's a 5. It's a 5. It's a 5.
This cigar makes the La Punta shine.
It makes the
I don't know if I'd say that.
It makes the
I don't know if
that.
I say that. I don't know if
It
I'd
makes
say
the
that.
Hamlet a good cigar.
So it's a 6 for me all day. Senator.
This was hard for me, not in that I was ever entertaining giving this a high score, but hard for me in that I've been going back and forth between a 6 and a 7. And the saddest thing about this for me is this cigar itself. I've sat here the whole time saying, I think I'm going to give this a 6. And the younger ones of these I've had, I would actually give a 7. Not that it was anything amazing, but it was a bit more satisfying. I just think actually with age, it's like mellowed out what was already not a ton of flavor and was already very monotone in one note. So at best, I think this is a 7, but for this cigar that we just smoked, I'd give this a 6.
Okay. Grinder.
I'm giving it a 6.
Bam, bam.
I like Poobah's analysis. 500 record, right in the middle. I'll give it a 5.
All right. The Composite Lizard score, boys, is a 5.7.
It's a shit cigar. and I mean that in that it's not offensive. It's just
I mean that in the
huge
nicest of
disappointment.
ways.
I mean, it's just disappointing.
It
It's
is.
It's a
just
letdown.
you know, if this was a $9 stick or a $10 stick and it was in some, like a portfolio, you know, maybe I would have rated, but at $47,
No one likes to be
So I
left
just-
get
wanting.
out of here.
I want to
Yeah.
say one
Get
thing.
out.
So if you buy a 50 cab today at today's crazy prices
Of these?
of the RAS, okay, the price on those sticks is $14.40.
Oh, that's
We
incredible.
rated those
That's
cigars
incredible.
young at a 9.0.
Right.
This
because
cigar-
it
They
warrants
wiped
that.
the floor. with
Exactly.
this.
That's
Absolutely.
this cigar at $47 today at a 5.7 is an absolute sin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put me down for a 50 cab of these.
Yeah,
It's
right.
crap.
Yeah, the RAS
You
delivers.
can stack.
It
You can
delivers.
stack 10 paper boxes on top of each other and enjoy yourself.
But this is
For
this is-
$2,000.
This is why you need like consumers talking about this shit.
Yeah.
With a constant feedback loop, because there's people out there that are going to see, oh, LCDH. It's got to be good. It's got to be a limitada. Blah 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 blah. And therefore, the price point is you think the price point is aligned to the quality you're getting, but the value for value equation, it doesn't sync. And it's good to talk about this shit because the listeners will think, okay, the lizards are rating it terribly. The price point doesn't sync up. I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah.
And you don't have that kind of feedback loop, certainly in communist Cuba. But here we can talk about this.
Yeah,
and
but even
appreciate it.
everywhere. I mean, right? Like the reality is, honestly, like this cigar, I remember before I had the first one of these I've ever tried, you look up reviews online and I would see a review and, it's some like Habanos retailer reviewing it, right? Like they need
Yep.
to move the product off the shelf. So like I'm
There's an
listening
angle.
to this
Yeah,
and I'm
but,
like,
my-
well,
my whole-
that sounds good. And it's like, it's actually not a very
My
good
whole
cigar.
perception of Habanos SA is it's a bunch of fat, lazy fuckers who don't have to do any research, don't do any kind of understanding of what the market demands. They're sitting on this gold mine of Cuban tobacco and they're just pushing it. And they're trying to get the certain price points that are aligned to certain products that are.
Well, I think there's another element of it, which is just desperation. They are desperate for income. They're desperate for money. And I think that they are doing whatever they can at any cost, at any product output.
It's the wild, wild west.
It is. They're just trying to raise cash. And it's certainly been working, but
We'll try to overlook this, but we're going to keep supporting them.
Absolutely.
we love Habanos. All right, boys. A 9.0 for the 2017 Jordan Cab and a 5.7 for the Ramón Allones Superiores LCDH. High score.
Shit pairing.
All right, boys. We'll see you next week.
Keep smoking.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.